I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to the Operation Freedom Health and Wellness series with our star guest, Dr. Peter Glidden, one of the top naturopathic physicians, not just in our country, but the world. Top researcher and not only an incredible clinician, but a fantastic author. I encourage you to get his books. Everybody is sick and I Know Why. An Attempt to Cure with Holistic Medicine. They are the foundation of our medical library in my family. They should be of yours. Because the information contained in those books, I can assure you, as an allopathic physician and as an MD, 99% of the information in Peter's books you'll never experience in a allopathic MD medical school. And the reason is because the information in those books empower you. They don't empower insurance industry, pharmaceutical industry, the AMA, we call the medical industrial complex. They empower you in getting control of your health and your wellness, and utilizing your body's own innate, God-given ability to protect itself, to heal itself, and to give you an environment where you can practice wellness for many decades, if not the entirety of your life. His website, Dr. Glidden, Glidden, drglidden.com. You can get the books on Amazon and also on his website. Pete also has a subscription service. Full disclosure, the information we're going to discuss today, more information is available on operationfreedomhealth.com, and the products we discuss are also available on operationfreedomhealth.com. Purchase of the products does benefit this platform, so we continue our series. Now today, we're going to talk about what's underneath your hood, the brain. And in particular, we're going to talk about the natural, not pharmaceutical, natural steps to take to support a healthy brain. It's my honor to welcome back to our platform Dr. Peter Glidden. Pete, welcome back to the Operation Freedom Health and Wellness series.
Dave Janda, you continue to be the man. It's my goal to, when I grow up, to be just like you.
Well, I am old, that is for sure. That's very kind. Okay, Pete, healthy brain.
All right, so first things first, you have to provide the brain with the nutrients that it needs in order to function properly, and that's handled in the foundation pack with the 90 essential nutrients. That's mandatory. It's not optional. You have to do it because the human body is a holistic phenomenon. Everything is connected, and you need to have all of the pieces of the puzzle there so that everything can work. And as I'm going to point out in a minute, there's an intimate relationship between the brain and another very interesting organ in the body. So it's not just what can we do for the brain specifically, but what can we do globally, holistically, that's going to have a positive impact on the brain. So we handle that with the foundation pack, the 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 2 fatty acids, number one. Number two, eat a diet high in cholesterol.
One more time. Say that again, because people are saying, "What? Wait a minute. No, my doctor, my allopathic doctor, MD, has been telling me I have to lower my cholesterol." Okay, yeah, Pete. Now, Pete, this is really important, and people are not going to get this any other place. Educate our listeners on this.
That's the greatest myth in the field of conventional medicine right now, that there's a relationship between high cholesterol and heart disease. It does not exist. This is an academic fact, by the way. There was a Russian doctor named Ufi Ravenskov who I think 10 or 15 years ago did a meta-analysis of all of the research ever published anywhere in recorded history on the relationship between cholesterol and heart disease. His conclusion, based on an exhaustive review of the literature, there is no relationship between high cholesterol and heart disease. It does not exist. Cholesterol is not the Antichrist. Cholesterol is so important to the human body, your liver will make it. And by the way, the whole good cholesterol, bad cholesterol thing is also a myth. HDL is a carrier protein that carries cholesterol from parts of the body where it's no longer needed back to the liver for storage. That's all that it does. LDL takes cholesterol from the liver to parts of the body that need it. And because the pharmaceutical industry convinced medical doctors with brains the size of walnuts that cholesterol was bad, the logical progression is, well, when we move cholesterol out of the liver somewhere in the body, that's a bad thing, even though it's the wisdom of the body that's encouraging that. And when we remove cholesterol from tissue in the body and bring it back to the liver, that's a good thing. And it's nonsense. There's no such thing as good cholesterol. There's no such thing as bad cholesterol. The only time that cholesterol is problematic is if it's over 450. And even then, that amount of cholesterol in the blood is not a problem. But there's something that's giving rise to the imbalance there, and that's what needs to be figured out. It's cholesterol is fine. And this from the Department of Irony Department. If you look at the introduction of statin drugs to the marketplace, and statin drugs, by the way, lower cholesterol. They lower cholesterol by creating inflammation in the liver because the liver makes cholesterol and sends cholesterol out to the body. So cholesterol-lowering statin drugs lower cholesterol by creating inflammation in the liver, which is why if you're taking a statin drug and your medical doctor's on board and up to speed, you should have your liver enzymes tested about every 4 to 6 weeks just to make sure the cholesterol drugs aren't messing your liver up, but that's never done anymore. I don't know why. It's because what do you call the person who graduates last in medical school? Doctor. Right? So, but I digress. So, if you drive cholesterol into the ditch with statin drugs, fat-free diets, and exercise, guess what happens? Your brain dries up, right? And if you look at a graph of the rise of Alzheimer's disease, it almost exactly parallels the rise of statin drug prescriptions in the United States of America. And even now, or a couple of years ago, this information that myself and my colleagues and other doctors around the world who actually read the literature, not just the abstracts, not just listen to the pharmaceutical rep, we actually read the literature. The pharmaceutical industry now has a warning on the statin drug that says, a side effect is dementia. They won't say it's related to Alzheimer's disease, even though I believe that it is, and I don't. That's not a stretch. So, the most important thing you can do for your brain health after you nutrify, and don't be afraid of cholesterol, is stop taking statin drugs. Stop taking statin drugs. And if you're uncomfortable about that, there are resources on my website which will educate you about everything that I just said, and you can bring that to your doctor. By the way, I've had a lot of patients that have done that. They have to educate their doctor, and then the doctor goes, oh my God, I had no idea. Let's stop the statin drugs immediately, right? And then the doctor is excommunicated by all their peers, and that's a whole other story. It's a big problem.
Sure.
So we have to not be afraid of cholesterol.
So, Pete, some foods that you would recommend. We have the 12 bad foods for inflammation on the website, operationfreedomhealth.com, a free video, upper right-hand corner. But Pete, some positive brain foods, let's call them.
Meat, eggs, and fish.
Perfect.
How about that? Exactly the opposite of what everybody's been told.
Right.
Meat, eggs, and fish. Oh, and butter. I mean, if your body's okay with butter, and some people's body can't tolerate butter. My body can't tolerate butter.
So what do you use? I have
a sensitivity to butter, so I use ghee, which is clarified butter.
Oh.
Or when I cook stuff up in a skittle or a fry pan, I use pork fat, goose fat, or duck fat.
Oh.
And my food tastes delicious, by the way, if you do that. So butter, if you can tolerate it, it's a wonderful food for your brain. Avocados, fish, fatty fish like salmon, and meat cooked rare or medium rare, and don't be afraid of the fat, for goodness sakes. Okay, so now this is where it gets really interesting. Another really important thing, well, I'll talk about that last, but the next thing to think about is the liver itself. A lot of people are not aware of this. I was not even aware of this until a couple of years ago. But the human body, like everything else in the world, the human body is a battery. And it has a positive pole and it has a negative pole. Every cell of the body has a positive pole and a negative pole. The positive pole of the human body is the liver. The negative pole is the brain. So there is an intimate relationship between liver health and brain health. And it's way beyond the whole lipopolysaccharide thing, which is, what conventional reductionistic scientists think is the relationship here. It's lipopolysaccharides. Well, that's a thing, but a bigger thing is the electrical connection, electrical circuit in the human body.
The charge.
And not only do statin drugs interfere with brain function because of the cholesterol lowering mechanism, but they lower cholesterol by messing the liver up.
Right.
Literally, they cause inflammation in the liver, and that's going to disrupt the electrical charge in the human body. And that's going to have a whole nother series of ramifications globally, right?
Right.
So one of the best things you can do to support brain function is make your liver healthy. How are we going to make our liver healthy? Well, we do the 90 essential nutrients.
Right. Foundation
eliminate
pack.
the 12 bad foods. And then you do my 21-day beet juice protocol.
Where do they find that?
I'll tell it to you right now.
Oh, fire ahead.
You can also find it in my book, Attempt to Cure, under the hepatitis section, or in the ailments section of the subscription area of my website under hepatitis. And I learned this from Dr. John Bastyr. The naturopathic medical school that I went to was called Bastyr University.
In Seattle, outside.
Named after Dr. John Bastyr, who was, I know, a real, very prominent naturopathic doctor in the early 1900s in the United States, right? He was like the Albert Einstein of naturopathic medicine. He was a great guy. I actually had the privilege of taking a course or two, I think, with Dr. Bastyr. And this liver protocol I got from him.
Okay.
So you go to the grocery store, you got organic beets. The red root with the big leafy greens on them. Right. You cut the greens off of them. You put them aside. You can cook those or eat those. That's not part of the program.
Right.
You take the red beet, uncooked. You rinse it off, get the dirt off of it.
Yeah.
You cut it up and you put it in a juicer.
Okay.
And this is a 3-week program, a 21-day program. Days 1 through 7, the first week, you consume 2 ounces of beet juice a day.
2 ounces.
2 ounces. Week 2, 3 ounces. Week 3, 4 ounces of beet juice a day. Now, drinking fresh squeezed beet juice all by itself is not the greatest tasting thing in the world. However, if you mix fresh squeezed beet juice with carrot juice, fresh squeezed carrot juice, and Granny Smith apple juice, it's one of the best tasting drinks you will ever drink in your life. It is a really, really good drink. Tastes great, feels great, is great. It's wonderful.
How much of the carrot juice and the granny? Just a little ounce.
Yeah, you got to experiment with that.
Okay.
I use at least, and so if we're going to do 2 ounces of beet juice, then I would do 4 ounces of carrot juice and 4 ounces of Granny Smith apple juice, more or less. Use a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on your taste, right? The only thing you need to measure in this regard is the beet juice.
Got it.
Is you got to get right around 2 ounces, then right around 3 ounces, then right around 4 ounces every day.
And you do that for 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, now what happens after 3 weeks? Do you stop it?
Yeah, you stop it.
For how long?
Well, you just stop it. You do this program. If you do this program once a year, for 21 days, you're going to be in really good shape. And here's why.
Okay.
All right. Well, there's one more thing I want to mention.
Okay.
Before I forget, when you drink this much beet juice,
this is important.
Your urine's going to turn red. Your stool's going to turn red. You're going to think you're bleeding.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're not.
No,
it's the beet juice.
Now
I've had people go to the emergency room in the middle of the night. Oh my God, I've got a urinary tract infection. No, it's bright red. It's the beet juice. Don't worry about it.
So here's a question I have, Pete. In previous videos, we have talked about the benefits of beets with your heart. Right? And there's a product that we also have on OperationFreedomHealth.com, Cardio Beets.
Right.
Now, that's something I take because I actually find it's it helps me from a cardiovascular standpoint.
100 point. That's because of the
Nitrous oxide. Yeah.
aspect of the stuff that's in the beet juice. When you fresh squeeze a beet,
Yeah.
there's a lot of enzymes that are released,
Okay.
which promote hepatoneogenesis,
Liver cell
fancy
regrowth.
Fancy doctor talk for regeneration of the liver.
Liver cell regrowth, yeah.
Yeah, now here's a fun fact to know and tell. The liver is the only organ in the human body that can regenerate itself.
Mm-hmm.
You can surgically remove
Yes.
a lot of it, like 70-something%. It'll grow back.
Yes, very true. Transplant surgeons will attest to that.
Beet juice stimulates the production of new liver cells, which is a really good idea because the liver is like a big filter in the body, and the liver gets slammed just by walking down the road and breathing in automobile exhaust. So the liver's working on overtime. So it's a really good idea once a year, once every couple of years, to give your liver a little extra juju, a little extra love and support. That's not only going to have positive effects on the liver, it's also going to have positive effects on the brain, and everybody's going to be happy. It's a really important thing to do. Third and final thing, or fourth and final thing, whatever number we're up to.
We're on 4.
You have to have a good night's sleep.
Oh.
Because there's a part of the circulatory system in the body called the lymphatics.
Mm-hmm.
The lymphatics are responsible. It's like the sewer system in the body. The lymphatics collect the products of cellular metabolism and bring them to the kidneys, bring them to the liver, bring them to the gut, where they're removed from the human body.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of years ago, scientists discovered the lymphatic system in the brain is in overdrive when you're asleep. Like an overdrive. It like goes into 5th gear. Our brains clean themselves out when we're asleep.
Which is why if you get a really lousy night's sleep, you feel like trash.
You feel like trash. You can't think straight.
Or when we're taking call as physicians, right?
You got brain fog. It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why. Because your brain's got all this crap in it that is trying to get rid of it. Couldn't get rid of it because you didn't go to sleep. So a good night's sleep is a really good idea, which begs the question, right? Well, how am I going to get a good night's sleep? Well, not with Lunesta.
Right.
Not with sedatives.
No.
And not with CBD oil.
No.
Because those things are trying to force the issue, right? Trying to force the issue. And that's never a good idea over the long term. So one of the easiest ways to promote healthy sleep is eliminate the 12 bad foods.
Right.
Take the 90 essential nutrients every day.
Foundation pack.
Exercise.
Yep.
Right. Exercise regularly is very important to help your body get to sleep, because if you don't do that, a lot of the energy in your body gets up into your head instead of in your body. Your brain's going a million miles an hour. It's hard to shut the brain off, and so it's going to be hard to get to sleep. So you have to do some type of physical exertion on a regular basis. Take the 90 essential nutrients and and this is the breakdown of the 90 essential nutrients. It's right here. Here's the breakdown. Tangy tangerine, plant minerals, Beyond OsteoFX, which is a calcium and a magnesium donor, and the Prohoba Omegas. The calcium, the Beyond OsteoFX, which has calcium and magnesium and a bunch of other things. Take 1 ounce of that, or 2, if you're over 200 pounds, to 2 ounces of that, plus 1 or 2 ounces of the plant-derived minerals right before you go to bed. Throw that stuff down like a shot of whiskey right before you go to bed. Rinse the glass out, take the rest of it in, brush your teeth, go to bed. If you take the Beyond OsteoFX and the minerals before you go to bed, it will dramatically promote restful, deep sleep.
Interesting.
Now, if you do that and you do not get restful, deep sleep, if you're one of these people who wake up in the middle of the night, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're wide awake, like you slept all night, that's a blood sugar issue. And then that's a whole nother issue. But generally speaking, the 90, the diet, exercise and the calcium before bed is a really, really good way to get your body into the sleep rhythm. And the last thing I want to say about that is the sleep is like a train that enters the station and then leaves. You got to jump on the sleep train when it enters the station. If you miss the sleep train, you may not get to sleep until the next train shows up, which may be hours down the road. So you have to be aware of when your body starts to get sleepy. You know, there are these people, it's 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, they're watching TV, they fall asleep on the couch, they're watching TV, they wake up a half an hour later, and then they go to bed, and then they have a crappy night's sleep. It's because they should have been in bed when they first went to sleep at that
on
time,
the couch.
because that's when their sleep train rolls into town.
Right.
So if you're mindful of these details in your own personal life, you dramatically increase the chances of having a good night's sleep. Having a good night's sleep is really important to promote brain health. And, you know, everything else that we've talked about, it's a fantastic recipe. It's really smart and effective. And by the way, you're going to love how you feel after you do the 21-day beet juice thing.
One last story. One of my great aunts, Chicago Public Schools teacher for 50 years, taught first grade, fantastic woman, taught me how to read, actually. Taught all the kids in our neighborhood how to read before we even went to kindergarten. She lived till she was 98 years old. Wow. And when she was 95, she had her routine doctor's appointment, and my mom couldn't take her, but I did. And she said, well, you're going to become a doc. Why don't you come in with me into the exam room? Okay. So we do, and her doc comes in, and, oh, Josephine, I got your blood test back. And, well, you're doing really quite well, but Josephine, healthy as a horse, okay? Healthy as a horse. Would have her Manhattan every day, right? He goes, but Josephine, you had one bad number, and we got to get control of that. Your cholesterol was high. Yeah. And now her diet, she loved sweetbreads. Right? Oh, yeah. She loved high and fatty food, right? 95 at the time when this conversation happens, and he goes, so we have to alter your diet, and I'd like to put you on some medication. She looked at him. She goes, how old are you? He goes, what? She goes, how old are you? And his answer, if I remember, was like mid-50s, 55, something like that. He goes, well, 55. She goes, I'll tell you what. When you get to be my age, we'll have this conversation again, okay? And then we'll decide what we should do at that point.
Yeah, really great.
Right?
Right.
And we walk out of the room, and she looks at me, and she goes, listen, when you got somebody who's as old as I am, and obviously got here doing the right thing or whatever it was, she goes, don't tell them to change the method of success that got them where they're at. Just based on a number.
I remember years ago, one of the longest lived guys in the United States, his name was Clarence maybe Washington. Washington was his last name. I forget what his first name was. But he was a poor African-American guy that lived in Mississippi. And he lived to be 100 and something. And on his 100th birthday, I think, reporters found him and they asked him what's his secret to life. And he says, well, every day I eat lard sandwiches. He says, what do you mean? He says, well, I get pork fat, I freeze it, and I put it into little patties. I put it in the freezer until it gets nice and hard. And then I get a nice fresh slice of tomato with salt and pepper. I put the tomato between 2 slices of frozen lard, and I eat it. And that's what I eat every single day. He lived to be over 100 years of age.
There you are.
It's a wonderful world if you view it from the proper perspective.
Right.
The problem that we have here is it's been a one-trick pony for over 100 years.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly
9 out of 10 doctors say smoking is okay. It's crazy.
Right. Those were the ads. Those
here
those
we
were
are.
the ads.
You know, history doesn't repeat itself.
No.
Right.
Yeah, right. Those were the ads back then.
Right.
I have ads. I actually have played them on the radio. of saying just that.
Yep. So a little bit of common sense here goes a long, long way. And
common sense and moderation.
Yep.
Right.
And stepping outside of the pharmaceutical influence.
That's
sphere,
right.
Right. Which you have more experience with than just about anybody.
Yeah.
No kidding.
I got the bruises to prove it. Hey, so Pete, educate our listeners. So the products we talked about today are available on OperationFreedomHealth.com. There's more information, the free video, 12 Bad Foods, upper right-hand corner, OperationFreedomHealth.com. Your website, drglidden.com. People can get your books there. Attempt a Cure with holistic medicine, and everybody is sick, and I know why. Plus, you have your subscription service there. Educate our listeners on that before we leave.
Yeah, just go to drglidden.com, become a subscriber. You'll have immediate access to hundreds of hours of information similar to what Dave and I were just talking about, but more specific and more in-depth. The intention of my educational stuff is to empower you with science-based, clinically verified, clinically relevant information to help you understand the simple steps to take to make yourself healthy. It's not difficult. Surgery is complicated, ladies and gentlemen. You better get a degree and get clinical training if you want to be a surgeon. But healing the body is not that difficult. You just need to know a couple of things to do, and I teach you those on my website. Check it out, drglidden.com.
Pete, I'd like to thank you for everything you have done, are doing, and will do. I'd like to thank you folks for joining us today. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Dream big and dare to fail. Thanks for your time today.